Park versus Jaewon Hwang.
Yeah, I think a lot of trainers will probably recognize Sejin Park here. It's been a few years, first time on stream since he won the previous World Championships in Washington, D.C. Best known for using that Pachirisu. Can't imagine there's too many people watching the Video Game Championships who haven't seen that one. Worth looking it up if you haven't, though. Was a very unexpected Pokemon that year. The tiny Pachirisu assisting the more offensively oriented, larger Pokemon in its team, taking some hits with Follow Me so that its friends could take home the World Championships. And Sejin, once again, kind of using a fun team here. No Pachirisu this time, but a similar little electric rodent on his team.
Yeah, Togedemaru is one to look at for Sejin Park's team, but on the other side of the field, we have Jaewon Hwang, otherwise known as Ken. And that's exactly how we're going to be referring to him for the rest of the broadcast there. But Ken has a really interesting team as well. Of course, there's that Xerneas that we were talking about before, battling it out against Sejin Park's Rayquaza.
Yeah, I think two interesting matchups to watch there. I mean, that's the big one, right? Right from the word go, we're going to see those two Pokemon match off. The Metagross and Sejun side going to be important for shutting down that Xerneas. Also, that Shedinja, very scary. Sejun does have a couple of different Pokemon that can hit it for super effective damage with that Wonder Guard, so he's going to have to be careful with his own Incineroar and Rayquaza. Almost definitely has to bring both of them also. Fortunately for Ken, that doesn't really give him anything because he's probably going to bring those two Pokemon to almost every match he plays this weekend.
Yep.
What's also interesting to note is that the Tapu Fini is on Sejun's side, not on Ken's. Always scary when you see Tapu Fini next to Shedinja because you have to be concerned, all right, I have to be able to deal with Wonder Guard if my opponent is a Bug and Ghost type Pokemon, but also if it's a Water type Pokemon. Sejun doesn't have a whole lot of ways probably to hit Water type Pokemon, so fortunate for him, he's not going to have to deal with that this round.
Yeah, that's going to be really fortunate, but I would really like to see what maybe the Z moves are for these teams and also what the Mega Pokemon might be for both Ken and Sejun. Now, for those of you that are watching, Ken, excuse me, I just said that we were going to refer to them as Ken. But Ken is a really prestigious Chinese player that's a veteran to Worlds.
Yeah, both these guys have a lot of experience at this level. It should be a really fun match.
Yeah, and we're getting into it. We're already about to get started here, and it's going to be that Tapu Fini and Metagross on Sejun's side versus the Groudon and Tapu Koko. Terrain control really important here, but we're seeing that Tapu Koko is going to try to take control of that terrain first.
Yeah, being faster here is a disadvantage, and the ability activates first, gets replaced by Tapu Fini, but a pretty good lead combination for Ken, I would say, where he gets that Groudon out here safely. Do has to be concerned about the Tapu Fini, especially before he sees anything from it. Sejun definitely the sort of player who would sneak on a powerful water type attack here, which so there's the threat of Rayquaza coming in and negating this desolate land, but at least Groudon gets out on the field without having to deal with Rayquaza for now. One of the tough things of this matchup, anytime you're playing Groudon against Rayquaza, is getting it out in the field in terms where you can actually get attacks off.
Yeah.
You don't want to just sit out there where you're in danger of getting blown up constantly. There's potential danger here, but at least with Tapu Koko out there checking the Tapu Fini, that's going to be tough for Sejun to do anything too crazy. A good opening position for Ken.
Well, for Sejun, especially when you're thinking about Groudon, Groudon can be either a special attacked Pokemon, or it could be trained to be more just physical attack. So you never know what that threat's going to be. So Sejun's going to have to play around this very carefully here, as Ken's going to go ahead and kick things off by just switching at the Groudon. Doesn't feel like this is safe.
Yeah, perhaps he is concerned about a potential Rayquaza switch in, and we see that Shedinja, who's going to have an easy time with both of these Pokemon. Very unlikely either of them can hit it for super effective damage, but with Metagross switching out, we do see that Kyogre coming in.
Wow.
So was looking for a play most likely on that Groudon. Great play by Ken to avoid it.
Excellent play by Ken. Will avoid some of that damage. If Sejun trying to target down that Groudon, it means that Shedinja is going to be on the receiving end of whatever might come out for this next turn. But it is at least going to make it rain on the field here. But Tapu Koko is going to be able to get a nice chunk of damage into that Tapu Fini.
Yeah, nice Volt Switch there. Not likely to be able to knock out a Tapu Fini from full health, so get some chip damage. Allows him to switch another Pokemon back in. He could get Groudon back out if he wanted to, though.
Yeah, you said that.
Yes, tricky to play against two Water-type Pokemon, with Rayquaza likely being the final Pokemon on Sejun's side. And we do see Xerneas coming in, so instead a different Pokemon trying to take advantage of the Pokemon on the field here.
Yeah, Shedinja might be able to do a little bit to keep the eyes off of that Xerneas. Xerneas is going to want to try to set up for that Geomancy turn, but you got to be really cautious about what Sejun has in their back pocket. A lot of offensive-oriented Pokemon.
Yeah, nice play on Ken's side, too. Most likely a water type attack being blocked by the Wonder Guard there. And I really like how Groudon is being used in this game, because not only did he get to bait an attack there, but also this is really the one situation where I think Groudon can be effective in this match, where it's the threat of Groudon switching in makes it really tough to just focus down Xerneas here, because you can't just double up with water attacks or it could get negated completely.
Yep.
So even though Groudon isn't on the field right now and hasn't attacked at all, it actually is helping Ken get position in this game. Fortunately, I guess in a matchup against Rayogre, Groudon kind of just becomes a support Pokemon instead of an attacker, but really deftly played so far.
Yeah, it is greatly played on both of these sides of the field, taking their time here, trying to get up the best position possible. So we're going to see yet another switch here from Sajin to bring out the Metagross that kicked off this game. Ken going to take some time to protect the Xerneas as well, feel out what Sajin might be trying to bring to the table here. But wow, Shedinja going for just a little bit of chip there onto that Tapu Fini.
Yeah, and Tapu Fini whiffing another attack, this time into a Protect. With Tapu Fini, we normally see Nature's Madness, so it is dangerous to try to use Geomancy in front of it. You take a lot of damage, easily winds up in KO range from Metagross here. Going to be tough for Ken to use either of his restricted Pokemon, but really well played so far. If that Shadow Sneak looks a little strange, by the way, I was like, oh man, that's not a lot of damage. I'm most likely just trying to whittle down Tapu Fini's health enough that it can be knocked out without activating its berry.
Well, they're going to switch sides there on Ken's side of the field here. Might be a great choice, depending on where Sajin ends up targeting some of those attacks. But Geomancy first. Power Herb will make sure that Geomancy goes off without a hitch here, but the real question is whether or not Xerneas is going to survive till the next round.
Yeah, Shedinja trying its best to protect with that Ally Switch, and it looks like it succeeded.
All right, looks like it's gonna do the thing here, because Tapu Fini's actually gonna target down with an Icy Wind, it looks like. So a little bit of speed stat lowered on both, for at least for Xerneas here on Ken's side of the field, and now Sajin has a little bit more time to figure out what to do against a Xerneas, which is ready to go.
Yeah, see that Xerneas all fully powered down, got the Geomancy off, still going to be the quickest Pokemon on the field, even with its speed reduced a little bit by Icy Wind. The boost from Geomancy is 2 levels, so it will have an advantage. And now he knows that Ally Switch is there. I guess you usually expect it when you see Shedinja. But again, really well played, where we're kind of seeing an unconventional means of supporting Xerneas. None of these Pokemon are kind of like directly protecting it, but instead just finding ways for Xerneas not to have to take attacks. We see in his Ally Switch again, Sajin going to take some big damage here as he tries to call it.
Wow, Tapu Fini not going to survive through that, but Metagross still hanging on, because that's not going to do too much damage. Yeah, it was a double crit. That was a lot more than what we were expecting for that Metagross. But for Sajin now, did he end up figuring out that Ally Switch?
Yeah, but not this time, yeah. Once again, attacking into that Protect. So rough go for Sajin to get the start of this one. Just hasn't really been able to get anything going. And I do love what Ken did, by the way, where, again, the attacks on Tapu Fini, like, they look a little strange, but able to whittle down just enough, doesn't have to deal with the berry, gets that Pokemon off the field. Tapu Fini often taught Haze, so it's very important to eliminate it quickly when you're running a Xerneas team like this. You don't want to just lose that Geomancy boost, because your item is consumed when you use Geomancy the first time. So, if you don't get a big advantage from that, lose it to Haze, you can't really set it up again, especially in a matchup like this one where there's so much danger coming from Sajin's side. But again, I just have to say, I really have to hand it to Ken. He's playing against I think someone most people would consider at least one of the top 5 best VGC players of all time. And he's kind of making this game look easy so far.
Well, a lot of rotations, a lot of trying to reposition on the field here. And again, another repositional move with another Ally Switch from Shedinja, moving Xerneas over to the right side. Rayquaza will protect themselves through this second Dazzling Gleam. Metagross still not doing too much to it yet, but did Sajin still missed.
Yeah, that Wonder Guard is just not working out for him, where it's tough, where it looks a little silly. We're like, oh, why doesn't he just attack the other slot? It's not that easy, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's kind of I hate how much players use the phrase 50-50, because usually it's not. But in this case, it kind of is, right? Where either he does or he doesn't. There's no randomness involved, but it's really tough to get a read, because one play isn't really in any way better than the other. They're just kind of playing rock, paper, scissors out there. Ken coming out ahead so far. I guess on Sajin's side, you're kind of at least just hoping that you're learning the tendencies of Ken, because this has become very challenging.
Well, it's going to be a lot of mind games, because you could Ally Switch or you could not. Metagross now opting to hit the Xerneas, so we're not potentially going to see an Ally Switch here. We're actually seeing that Shadow Sneak doing just barely enough damage that it might get knocked out by the Xerneas here, and it does, and Rayquaza barely holds on.
Yeah, that's going to be a focus sash there, so Rayquaza will get at least one attack off, but it's a tough game so far for Sejun.
Yeah, he's going to lose this weather battle now as well because Kyogre's going to be forced out into that final slot. No ability for Sejun to take it out there, and Rayquaza not going to do enough damage to be able to knock out that Xerneas on Ken's side.
Yeah, we learn a lot about the way all the Pokemon are trained there. Metagross taking suspiciously little damage there, which sort of implicates Metagross' item a little bit, almost definitely an Assault Vest. Also, the lack of Mega Evolution, very suspicious. The other thing to note here, though, is that even if Sejun gets one call right here, he could try to get a knockout with an extreme speed, though he's going to have to be careful with attacking into a Protect and getting hit by Shadow Sneak. Even doing that is not really a path to victory for Sejun. Very likely the only Pokemon on his side that can knock out Shedinja is that Rayquaza, who's almost been knocked out right now. There's really no way that Rayquaza is going to be able to knock out Shedinja before it is knocked out itself if Ken just keeps targeting the Rayquaza. So Sejun is in trouble here, realizes that, and forfeits. There's just no way to get out of that one.
Wow, well, an expert first game played by Ken, making it look easy against one of the best players in Pokemon. But this is not over. It is still a best of 3, so Sejun has a lot of information to work with from what Ken's Pokemon really showed us.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm upset about the team matchup after that one if I'm Sejun, where it's like, losing is always a shame, but it's a winnable matchup. It just, he's got to make a few more of the calls right if he wants to get through this game. Certainly, I think like 3 or 4 times in a row attacking to the wrong Pokemon when Shedinja's out there. You can't get away with that in these matchups. But also, the lead matchup was also not to his advantage, and I think it's going to be important for him this game too to kind of anticipate Ken's lead a little bit better and try to start off on a better foot. Also, that Shedinja, I was surprised on Sejun's side that we only saw Rayquaza of the 2 Pokemon that can potentially damage Shedinja. If Incineroar is in that match, maybe Sejun can keep playing at least, where he wound up kind of just losing the match halfway through there. He was so far behind in health that it probably didn't really matter, but something to think about in game 2.
Absolutely. It sounds to me like Sejun might have to think about bringing different Pokemon to the field than the 4 that he did bring to game 1. But that could have been part of his strategy. Let's just bring some things, not show off everything in the kit, and make Ken wonder whether or not he will be able to take these matches. But we're getting ready for game 2. Team preview here. It means that Ken and Sejun are going to have another chance to bring some different pairs to the field.
Yeah, I think the one thing that Ken gets to learn that game is you did see the item on both Rayquaza and Metagross.
Yep.
Rayquaza, one of the great things about it is they can easily hold 4 or 5 different good items. So figuring that out helps. And then also, Metagross, a little unconventional. Should be knowing with that Assault Vest, Metagross is great in the Xerneas matchup. I know it didn't look like it there because Shedinja was a little bit too sneaky for Sejun there, but there are a lot of tools in this that would lead me to believe that Sejun actually is the one who has the matchup advantage here. Shedinja with good enough guessing games has a matchup advantage against everything, but if he's able to make those calls, I think the other Pokemon in his team will go down. Or the other Pokemon in Ken's team will go down pretty easily to Sejun. So we could easily see this turn the other way. The key Pokemon in this matchup is going to be Shedinja, where Ken has to play a little bit defensively. There's a lot of threatening Pokemon on Sejun's side. We can see if he can dance this dance again and kind of just sneak around all those counters, or if Sejun will be able to lock this one down and bring us to a game 3.
The only thing I'm worried about on Sejun's side is that we still don't know what that double threat of Groudon is. Is it more physically trained? Is it more specially trained? We just don't have that information yet, so Sejun's going to have to play around that big threat on Ken's side of the field, but opts to bring Incineroar, maybe trying to mitigate some of those effects, especially if it's physically trained.
There's a lot of things that I really like about seeing the Incineroar here. It helps slow down the game for Sejun, where I just like he was taking big losses every turn last game. Also really helps improve this lead matchup by getting both these Pokemon out here. And kind of by threatening both of them lets Ken know that, well, it's going to be a much tougher game for Shedinja. Tougher to switch into. There's a threat
Absolutely.
where if you try to be cheeky like last game, bring in their block attack, maybe you lose your own Focus Sash for nothing. The one thing to keep in mind, though, that is good for Ken about this matchup, Tapu Koko, a Pokemon that does want to stare down these 2 Pokemon, most often holding the Fairyam Z. We actually didn't see either player's Z Crystal in the first game, so we don't know where those are yet, but something Sejun's going to have to be careful about. Certainly, I don't want to attack too aggressively with Rayquaza. We did see the Focus Sash, but you don't want to give that up for nothing. Certainly a Pokemon that does help control all of the legendary Pokemon on Ken's side of the field, so I want to make sure that whenever that Focus Sash does get popped, you get value.
Well, the first thing that's going to go is Tapu Koko's ability to move for this turn. Rayquaza is just going to take a little look around, and I think that Sejun's set up pretty well here. Rayquaza not doing too much damage, but that Focus Sash is going to be gone.
Yeah, I mean, losing the Focus Sash is unfortunate, but that was actually a really good trade. We see
Excellent.
a move from Sejun's Rayquaza that we very rarely see. I'd actually heard from a few players that this is being tested. I forgot to mention it when we were talking earlier, but that's the Tailwind from Rayquaza. Most often see that on more defensive Pokemon, but Sejun opting to spend a move slot on his Rayquaza to help speed up the team. There are a lot of big advantages to that one. One, that it makes Xerneas even more, or this game even more perilous for Xerneas, but there's already a lot of Pokemon on Sejun's time that can do big damage. Now almost everything in the team is also going to outspeed it for a few turns. Also speeds up that Incineroar, makes it a little more threatening here. And while losing the Focus Sash is unfortunate, not a whole lot of damage taken by Rayquaza, and this has become too dangerous for the Groudon. It will switch out of battle.
It is going to switch out, and in its place will be that Xerneas, which you just talked about might not be the best thing to bring.
He fears nothing.
I guess it fears nothing, yeah. Deer gonna be a deer, but it is going to be Rayquaza aiming for the Tapu Koko slot. Not enough to knock it out, but it does do a significant amount of damage here.
We'll see if we see a double target. Getting rid of that Tapu Koko early would be a big advantage for Sejun. And yeah, we see Incineroar going off this Flare Blitz.
Wow, that Flare Blitz is going to make Tapu Koko rendered useless for this game 2 here, and I think Sejun's feeling pretty good about that one.
Yeah, this looks really good for Sejun now. Not only does he get rid of a Tapu Koko, which is kind of the one Pokemon that was good against most of the members of his team, but also he has both the Pokemon that can damage Shedinja out. It would be much more difficult to do some of those ally switch games where even if you were to try it and succeed, Shedinja would just get knocked out because of that. The Groudon having to switch in instead. But it's a tricky spot, right? I mean, I would guess Sejun's final 2 Pokemon are probably Kyogre and Metagross.
Yeah.
2 Pokemon, the Pokemon on the field on Ken's side really don't want to face down, so he's got to play very carefully here. Not only does he have a Pokemon disadvantage, but he also has a matchup disadvantage, and he has to worry about a couple more turns of those Tailwind. Sejun just turning the game around, but he also needs to be careful as well. You'd assume after that first game, Shedinja could be the final Pokemon on Ken's side of the field, so have to be a little careful, but there's really no reason for him to use any attacks that wouldn't hit Shedinja, so nice spot for Sejun this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that Incineroar pick for the lead was just a key to victory here for Sejun, but it's not quite over yet. Ken does have that Groudon, which is still a big threat, and now I'm remembering, I think last game we did see it use a Fire Punch, so it might be physically trained here, but Rayquaza now showing off that it does have the ability to Mega Evolve here, and it is going to do just that. It will get a different ability now because of that Mega Evolution there, and it's going to make Groudon a little scared.
That it is, and make this Dragon Descent do more damage as well. So we'll see it coming, which Pokemon it comes down on.
Oh, it's going to be the Xerneas. Ooh, wow. Over half damage there. That's going to be a large chunk. I don't think Ken was quite expecting that much damage to be taken into that Xerneas slot, but it's Incineroar. Incineroar's going to double right into it.
Ooh, not quite
barely
enough.
Holds on. I'm on the edge of my seat right now. That Dazzling Gleam is going to be able to go off into both slots there. Rayquaza is going to take the fall for that move.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. Incineroar also taking a lot of damage. Doesn't really want to face this Groudon down either. Could see a double knockout. And yeah, here's the Precipice Blades.
That's going to be a whole bunch of Precipice Blades into that second slot. And as quickly as we saw Sejun take the lead now, it looks like Sejun's going to be down a little bit. Let's see what that last 2 Pokemon are that he brought.
If it is Metagross and Kyogre, I think Sejun's probably licking his chops, because I would say this is game over for Sejun if he has those. We'll have to see the Pokemon coming out in the field, and yes, it is those 2 Pokemon. So this is actually really good positioning for Sejun. So the turn does not look very good when both of your Pokemon get knocked out, but
that's true.
It's kind of perfect where he gets a ton of damage in that Xerneas, where it's not going to be able to survive any more attacks, has to worry about Bullet Punch from that Metagross. We've already seen how sturdy it is. So it's really going to be a matter now, can Kyogre catch that Groudon with an attack? The one thing about this situation that is going to be really unfortunate is that, and I guess it's the way that Ken wins this game now, is he's got to get this Groudon out so he can bring it back in, get Desolate Land back on the field. He does not want to fight Kyogre with a weather disadvantage, but still going to be tough to avoid fighting a 2v1 here. And then also Shedinja, if that's the last Pokemon, now there's nothing left in Sejun's side that can hit it, so he would lose instantly in that scenario.
Yeah, that's going to be tough here, but I think we're about to find out. Groudon switching out of the field, and what's going to come in is going to be the Shedinja, and you can see it on Sejun's face. knows that this is going to be.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, you really hate to see this one. You know that Xerneas does have that ability to protect, but it's not going to go for that Water Spout. We'll be able to hit both Pokemon, but because of that Wonder Guard on Shedinja, it is going to survive the field. Groudon going to be able to come out in that Xerneas' place, reset that weather, and I think we all know how this one ends.
Yeah, I totally forgot about the Shedinja for a second there, but yeah, it's you know, if Sajin needed to play a more conventional game of Pokemon and simply you know, knock out the Pokemon that fight the way we expect to see the Pokemon fight, he would have been in a good position there. Shedinja not playing any of those games, though, totally immune to the attacks of both of these Pokemon, and as such, it will win this match.
Yeah, playing some different games, maybe playing a little bit of Ring Around the Rosie rather than the Pokemon that we expected to play on this side of the field, but looks like both players are still trying to figure out if they want to continue on with this match. And we are going to see some moves being made. Shadow Sneak going to find its mark onto the Metagross, which actually does a very large chunk with that critical hit there. And now we've got Kyogre trying their best to deal with the other threats on the field. Maybe we can bring this down to a timer? maybe not, though, because Precipice Blades is going to hit both Pokemon on Sajin's field. Metagross now not able to try to take any of them out on Ken's side.
Yeah, I guess there's not really any reason not to try to play it out, but yeah, it's not looking good for Sajin there. Loses another Pokemon, and I think he just played this one a little bit too quickly, where you got that Tailwind up. I tried to press that advantage.
Got a little aggressive.
I guess, seemingly like me, forgot about the option of Shedinja being in the back there. I think he probably, actually, I guess Sajin definitely expected Rayquaza to be knocked up, or Xerneas rather be knocked up with that attack that left it at very low HP. Perhaps that's the play that spun this matchup.
That was really unlucky. That was a very unlucky damage roll, I think, on Sajin's part, because I think that Xerneas should have been knocked out there, but that was a little... should have been a low roll.
Yeah,
low roll.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering when we saw these Xerneas in the previous game, like, oh, this Xerneas seems like it's trained a little bit more defensively than we normally see. Looks like that was the case where this Xerneas a little bit slower and sturdier than we see some of the Xerneas. Winds up paying off for Ken there as he's able to survive the attack, pick up the double knockout, and win a team matchup that I think was pretty challenging for him against an extremely talented player.
Well, especially because Sajin did make the adjustment to bring in Cineroar for that second game, and once they were able to fake